Sophie lived her life in neat, predictable lines. She woke up at the same time every single morning. Her breakfast was always the same toast, with a thin layer of marmalade, never too much. She walked the same route to her quiet job at the local library. Sophie loved books, of course. They were adventures she could hold in her hands safely. She enjoyed the order of the Dewey Decimal System. It made sense to her. Her world was small, yes, but it was comfortable. It was a world she understood completely, where surprises were rare and usually unwelcome. She believed this careful planning kept her safe from the bumps and bruises of a more chaotic existence. She was content, or so she told herself, in her carefully constructed reality. Her evenings were just as structured as her days. Dinner was a simple, healthy meal, often eaten while reading. She would then perhaps watch a familiar movie or call her parents for a brief, polite chat. Her apartment was tidy, with everything in its designated place. Colors were muted and decorations were minimal. Sophie believed that a calm environment fostered a calm mind. She avoided loud parties and spontaneous outings. Her friends, few but loyal, knew her routines and respected them. They sometimes teased her gently about her cautious nature, but Sophie would just smile. She felt that her way was the sensible way, the path of least resistance, and therefore the path to a peaceful, if somewhat uneventful, life. Deep down, though, a tiny seed of something else lay dormant within Sophie. Sometimes when she read tales of daring explorers or passionate romances, a wistful sigh would escape her. She would gaze out of her window at the passing clouds, wondering what lay beyond her familiar horizon. These moments were fleeting, quickly tucked away like a bookmark in an unfinished chapter. She would remind herself of the importance of stability, of the comfort found in the known. Adventure, she thought, was for other people, braver people, people who weren't afraid of getting lost or making mistakes. She was Sophie, the girl who always colored inside the lines, meticulously and carefully. Her family, loving and well-meaning, had always encouraged this cautious approach to life. They praised her steady job and her sensible choices. They worried about the uncertainties of the world and wanted only to shield Sophie from potential heartache or disappointment. Slow and steady wins the race, her father would often say, and Sophie had taken this advice to heart. She built her life like a fortress, strong and secure, but perhaps a little lonely too. She was unaware that the very walls she had built for protection were also keeping out the sunshine of unexpected joy. The thrill of the unknown and the vibrant colors of a life lived fully and without reservation. Into Sophie's meticulously ordered world burst Ethan. He was like a sudden gust of wind on a still day, scattering all her carefully arranged plans. Ethan was a travel writer and photographer, his eyes always sparkling with the light of far-off places. He didn't own much, preferring experiences over possessions. His stories were filled with vibrant descriptions of bustling markets, serene mountaintops, and the fascinating people he met along the way. He moved with an easy grace and a confidence that Sophie found both bewildering and utterly captivating. He seemed to carry the scent of adventure with him, a mix of sea salt, exotic spices, and the open road. He saw the world not as a place to fear, but as a vast playground waiting to be explored. Ethan found Sophie's quiet nature intriguing. He saw past her reserved exterior to the curious spark she tried so hard to hide. He didn't push her or try to change her, not directly. Instead, he shared his world with her through his photographs and his incredible tales. He spoke of sunsets over the Sahara, of swimming with dolphins in turquoise waters, and of navigating ancient cities guided only by the stars. He painted pictures with his words so vivid that Sophie could almost feel the warmth of the sun on her skin and hear the distant call to prayer. He showed her that life could be a grand, beautiful adventure, not just a series of responsibilities to be met. Sophie found herself drawn to Ethan's infectious enthusiasm. He listened to her, truly listened, in a way that made her feel seen. He didn't judge her quiet life, but gently questioned if it was everything she truly wanted. He saw the yearning in her eyes when she looked at his photographs of far-flung destinations. He encouraged her to dream a little bigger, to step outside her comfort zone, even in small ways. He would suggest a different route for her walk home, or a new type of tea, tiny deviations from her routine that felt like grand adventures to her at first. He was patient, kind, and full of an irresistible joy for living. Naturally, Sophie's family was wary of Ethan. He represented everything they had cautioned Sophie against: instability, unpredictability, and a life lived on the edge. They saw him as a charming drifter who might break their daughter's heart or lead her astray. "He doesn't have a proper job, Sophie," her mother would say, her voice laced with concern. "This constant wandering isn't a life." Her father worried about her safety and her future. They loved Sophie deeply, and their disapproval stemmed from a place of genuine care. But it created a tension, a silent tug-of-war for Sophie's heart and her future path. They wanted her to choose the safe harbor, not the open sea. Then came the day Ethan announced his next big adventure, a year-long sailing trip around the world. He looked at Sophie, his eyes full of hope and a silent invitation. "Come with me, Sophie," he said, his voice gentle but sure. The idea was terrifying. It was everything she had ever avoided. It meant leaving her job, her apartment, her family, and every single one of her carefully constructed routines. Her family was aghast. "Absolutely not," her mother declared. "It's too dangerous, too reckless." Her father pleaded with her to reconsider, to think of her future, her security. The disapproval was heavy, a weight on her shoulders, making the decision even more difficult. Sophie spent days, then weeks, in turmoil. Her mind replayed her family's worried faces, their pleas for her to stay safe. But her heart replayed Ethan's stories, the sparkle in his eyes, the image of a world waiting to be discovered. She looked around her neat little apartment, and for the first time it felt less like a sanctuary and more like a cage, albeit a comfortable one. She realized that playing it safe hadn't made her truly happy, only protected. And what was she being protected from? Life itself? With a courage she didn't know she possessed, Sophie made her choice. She chose the open sea, she chose adventure, she chose Ethan, she chose herself. Their journey began with a mixture of exhilaration and trepidation for Sophie. The vastness of the ocean was overwhelming at first. There were storms that tossed their small sailboat like a toy, testing their courage and their skills. There were moments of doubt, of seasickness, of sheer exhaustion. Equipment broke down in remote locations, forcing them to rely on their ingenuity and each other. They navigated by the stars, learned to fish for their food, and bartered for supplies in bustling port towns where they didn't speak the language. Sophie, who once meticulously planned every detail of her day, learned to adapt, to improvise, to embrace the unexpected. She discovered a resilience within herself she never knew existed. Slowly, remarkably, Sophie began to change. The salt air whipped color into her cheeks and the sun kissed her skin. She learned to tie knots, to steer the boat, to read the weather in the clouds. She laughed more freely, her voice no longer hushed and hesitant. She discovered a love for the simple things, the beauty of a sunrise over an empty ocean, the taste of freshly caught fish cooked over an open flame, the warmth of Ethan's hand in hers as they watched dolphins play in their wake. The fear that had once governed her life began to recede, replaced by a quiet confidence and a deep, abiding joy. She was no longer just observing life, she was living it fully and passionately. After a year that felt like a lifetime of experiences condensed into one, Sophie and Ethan sailed back into their home port. Sophie was nervous about seeing her family. She knew they had worried, and she wondered if they would understand the profound changes in her. As they stepped onto the dock, her parents were there, their faces etched with a mixture of relief and apprehension. But as Sophie walked towards them, they stopped. They saw not the timid, cautious girl who had left, but a woman standing tall, her eyes bright with confidence and a serene happiness that radiated from her. She was vibrant, alive in a way they had never seen before. The reunion was emotional. There were tears, of course, but also a dawning understanding in her parents' eyes. Sophie shared stories of their adventures, not to boast, but to share the joy and the lessons she had learned. She spoke of challenges overcome, of cultures embraced, and of the beauty she had found in the world and within herself. Ethan stood by her side, his quiet support evident. Her family saw the deep, genuine love between them, a partnership forged in shared experience and mutual respect. They saw that Ethan hadn't led Sophie astray. He had in fact helped her find her true self, the brave, adventurous spirit that had been hidden for so long. Sophie's transformation was undeniable. She still valued order, but it no longer ruled her. She embraced spontaneity. She was more open, more engaged with the world around her. She even started a small blog, sharing her travel stories and encouraging others to step outside their own comfort zones, however small those steps might be. Her family, seeing her so genuinely happy and fulfilled, finally let go of their fears. They realized that their definition of a good life had been too narrow. Sophie had found her own path to happiness, a path that was wilder and more unpredictable than they could have imagined, but undeniably hers. Sophie's story became a quiet inspiration to those around her. She showed that taking risks, even when it's scary, even when others disapprove, can lead to the most incredible discoveries about the world and, more importantly, about oneself. Happiness isn't always found in the safest, most predictable places. Sometimes you have to set sail into the unknown, trust your heart, and embrace the journey. Sophie learned to live without fear and to love fully, and in doing so, she found a richness in life she had never dreamed possible. Her adventure taught her that the biggest risk is to not live at all.